Hello, Markham Gardens family. Daniel Markham here with Markham Gardens, and glad you guys could join me today. Today we're going to be planting a couple things here in the gardens, and I thought I'd bring you along during the process of planting these. I have picked up a couple Buddleia, which is butterfly bush plants that I'm going to put in. We put one in last year, and it did really well. In fact, it did really well all the way through our cold that we had, our cold snaps. And it is still over there trying to put out some blooms and stuff. And I'll go ahead and put a picture right here of what a butterfly bush looks like, so you guys can get an idea of what that is and why we're putting it in. But basically, the reason we love them is because there's just the blooms, and they're super fragrant. They bring in the butterflies, they bring in the bees, they bring all that kind of stuff, all the pollinators. So I went ahead and picked up a couple of those, and I'm going to be putting them in today. Let me show you real quick. I have already put one in here, and I know you can't really see it, but I'll get down in here. So here it is right here. Here's the cutting. It's, well, not really a cutting, but it is a bare root. And so I've gone ahead and planted that one. You can see it's got a little bud on it already starting. But I've got another one over here that I'm going to be putting in this spot. And so let me show you real quick what area. So this is the spot right here. We've got like a raised bed area that I've put some things in. You guys see my water jug, my gallon water jug there. But this is the spot right here. Now, in this spot and the spot that I just showed you guys a second ago, that I already planted the other one, when we originally moved into the property, I planted some, it was a tropical, called Mexican cream guava. And to be honest with you, I knew that they couldn't take freeze. I knew they couldn't take a lot of cold. But our first year here, I wasn't sure how cold it would actually get. And that first year, it froze them all the way to the ground. I think both of them were probably about 4 feet tall. And the freeze froze them all the way to the ground. They did come back from the root system. But this year, they froze again. And this time they are not coming back, guys. It died all the way into the roots, so I went ahead and pulled them out. We just get a little bit too cold for anything that's tropical like that. And so I ended up pulling those out, and I'm going to go ahead and replace those with some butterfly bush. Another thing that we've got going today is I am going to be walking through the process of planting 2 more Cornus Kousa dogwoods. Now, the first year we moved here, I ended up planting 3 Florida, Cornus Florida dogwoods. And then I also planted 1, which is this one right here, of the Cornus Kousa. Now, the Cornus Kousa creates a fruit on it. And so I am all about, planting plants that you can eat, plants that are edible. And so, the Cornus Florida doesn't have any sort of fruit that's edible by humans. It's definitely edible by birds, things like that. And they have beautiful flowers. But I wanted more of the Cornus Kousa, guys. It's got an amazing fruit. If you've never seen what a Cornus Kousa is, dogwood, I'll put that picture right up here. And I'll also put a picture up here of the fruit and what that looks like as well. And so I'm putting in several of those, guys. Forgive me for the traffic. They are driving by all of a sudden. We've been totally dead today until I start doing this video. So anyway, so I'm going to put in a couple more of these Cornus Kousa dogwoods so that we've got some more fruit trees. They've got beautiful flowers, guys. And so I'm going to plant these. I'm going to bring you guys through the process. But if you guys will hang tight with me, and we'll get started. All right, guys, so I have gone ahead and created some soil. You guys know, you've seen it in previous videos. My chickens make this. This was basically hardwood chips, and throw it in with my chickens, and the chickens break it down, start mixing it around, and mix in their chicken poop and everything else, and it turns into this beautiful black soil. And So that's what I'm going to be using today to plant these trees and also the butterfly bush. And so let me go ahead and get you guys set up here on the tripod, and I'll go ahead and get it started. We're going to go ahead and plant this butterfly bush first. All right, guys, so I have already prepared this hole. As I said, I did have some guava growing in there. And so I have already prepared that hole, and it's got great soil in here. Let me just show you guys real quick. So this whole bed here is actually full of wood chips and leaves and things like that. But let me just show you guys what the soil looks like that is actually in this bed already. You guys can see the black soil. And those of you that haven't seen the video on the soil that we have around here, it all started as sugar sand, guys. And this is now the kind of soil that we've got through here. And so that's what this hole already has, is this beautiful black soil that's been created from hardwood. And so that's what we're going to plant it into. I am going to grab a couple handfuls of the soil that we make and put that in there. And just freshen it up just a little bit with some fertilizer that's got a little bit of chicken poop in there, which is great for it. And just going to mix that around real even in this area and give us kind of a fresh template to plant this in. So I just picked these up, guys, these butterfly bushes. You can order them online, you know, things like that. But I just picked these up at our local tractor store, and found a couple of them that had really good structure on them. One of the things you want to look at, guys, whenever you do select one of these, and I have mentioned it before, but I'll mention it again. When you're selecting a bare root, you really want to find the one, and I know that this doesn't look very thick, but you want to find one that is that has a nice thick girth on the stem. So one that is that has more girth to it is going to have more energy in there to go ahead and push growth out. And you can see I've got a couple buds on this that are already starting, so I knew that this one was alive and good to go. But they do come in this pellet, so you can see this pellet here that it comes in. Now, I do not plant it like this. A lot of people just take this, put this right into the ground, and call it good. But I do not do that, guys. I go ahead and pull this bare root. I will pull this bare root out of this pellet. And the reason I do that is because a lot of times when they package these, they don't package them in a way that gets all the roots in the correct, in a really good order. And so sometimes you'll have these roots that are bent way up here, and then they're stuck into the pellet. Well, then you end up burying this. See, that pellet came all the way up to here. And really, I want the soil level to be down here. And so that's why I go ahead and repackage these. I just take this good soil and spread it around this area that they packaged it up in. And so this is the bare root, guys. This is what this looks like. And it's got plenty of roots on there. You can see even here at the base of it, it's got another shoot that's trying to grow out. So I want to plant this thing about to this depth where my fingers are. And I want the rest of this sticking up out of the ground. So that's why I pulled it out of the pellets and go ahead and resituate it in the soil to the depth that I want. So I have already broken this soil up. It's nice and soft. It's easy to plant into. But I'm going to make a pocket down in this soil that is the depth of the root system up to the point that I want the soil to be. And then I'm going to go ahead and just pop that into the soil, and then go ahead and cover it back up with soil, guys. We're just going to push all this soil back over to it, and I'm going to firm it up just a little bit. We're just going to press in just a little bit to make sure that that plant is seated firmly in there. And mix this around. Now, After I do this, I go ahead and take some of these leaves and these wood chips and I go ahead and start pulling them into the center, guys. This is your mulch. This is going to hold moisture down around the soil area where you're growing, and will continue to break down in this area. Now, you do not want to pull this mulch up to where it's sitting on the stems. If you pull it up around the stems, it'll hold too much moisture around the actual stem of the plant that you just put in, and could cause some rot and some things like that. But I'm just basically covering all of this dirt that I've got around this plant. I'm covering that up, and the reason why is because soil, when it's uncovered, is in the process of dying. When the sun is hitting it, it's drying out all the microbes, all the mycorrhiza, all of that stuff that is beneficial to keeping your soil alive will end up dying if it's subjected to the sun and heat. So I want to cover all this up with leaves and wood chips. That way it keeps that soil alive. And so let me go ahead and I'll bring you guys over here real quick. Give me just a second. All right, guys, so I'll bring you down here and show you what we've done. So here's our new plant ready to go. And when it starts warming up, this thing's going to take off and start growing like crazy. But let's go ahead and I'll move over to where we're going to be doing the dogwoods, and I'll set you guys up and go ahead and start planting those, and you guys can observe some of that too. All right, guys, so we're all set up and ready to go. I do want to go ahead and take this tree and show you guys up close what depth we're going to be planting this at. So when we do plant these, basically, I am going to dig a hole that is deep enough that you can see that where the soil level is in this pot. I'm going to go ahead and plant this where the level of the soil on the ground comes up to where my finger is right here. About 2 inches below the actual surface of the soil, because I want this tree, I want this to be slightly above ground. The reason why is because we use a lot of wood chips here. And as those wood chips break down on top, the soil level is going to rise slightly. And the soil that's actually in the pot is going to actually sink. And so that should level that tree out with the level of the ground over time. And so that's the depth that we're going to be doing. Now, I already pre-dug these holes, already prepped them, got them ready. And just like the other holes, I already had prepped these in advance, guys. I prepped these holes probably, I think it was probably about midsummer last year. And so these holes have already been prepped. They've been ready for quite some time. They have just been waiting to put something into this hole. And so that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to go ahead and put something in these holes. And I definitely recommend, guys, if you're going to be planting something or you have an area where you know you want to plant, go ahead and prep those holes. Prep that soil way in advance. That way it's ready when you do decide to go ahead and put something into it. It allows the microbes to go ahead and begin breaking down the soil. It helps to start the mycorrhizal process as well, and gets that soil to where it is ready and fertile for the plants that you're going to put into it. So I'm going to go ahead and take a few spoonfuls of this. I'm going to put one down in the hole, and then I'm going to go ahead and we're going to spread it right around this hole right here. And that'll feed this tree. We are still a little bit too cold for these trees to wake up. And we should have probably another good cold snap here coming in February. And so I don't expect these trees to really wake up for probably at least a month, maybe a month and a half before they'll actually wake up. And so, but when they do wake up, they're going to need the fertilizer, guys. They're going to need the nutrition to be able to grow really well. And so that's what I'm going to do right now today. is go ahead and put some of this nutrition in here so that they'll do well when they do wake up. So, all right, so let's try that out. All right, so right there, we are about 2 inches above the soil level. And so this pot right here, as this brand new fresh soil that I put in there breaks down, it's going to begin sinking into that hole. And it's going to pull this tree down into that hole as well. But all the wood chips that we have around here, as they break down, the soil level is going to rise a little bit. So that's why I'm planting it, as I said, a little bit high here. Now, when you put this into your hole, you want to check your tree and make sure that it is positioned the way that you want it to be positioned. Now, this one has a fork that goes off to the sides, and I really want this to be viewable from the road and from Markham Gardens, our house. And so I'm going to go ahead and turn this tree to where it is sideways like this, so that it is full on view from that direction and this direction, and the spread will begin to the sides. And so, but you also want to take this tree and you want to position it in a way. Sometimes a tree will grow off crooked out of the pot. Sometimes, it might come up one angle and then turn back and grow the other direction. And really, you want to go ahead and position that tree in the hole in a way that it is balanced, basically, so that all the weight is distributed directly down into the ground. And so this one does kind of curve off to the right just a little bit, but it also corrects itself. So I'm just going to position this. You guys can see, I'm just going to turn it just a little bit that direction. And you can see that I've got it here in the hole with the pot still. And no, that doesn't mean that I'm going to plant this tree with the pot into the ground. But this is my method of planting to help not stress the roots out as much as possible. And so what I do is then I'll go ahead and take all of this soil and I'll begin raking it into the hole. I'll start pushing all this soil into the hole around the actual pot. And we'll go ahead and get it fully secured in this location where it's going to grow and it's going to live for the remainder of its life, which we hope is super long and fruitful. And so what I want to do is pull all this soil into the pot area, and then I want to go ahead and push down, pack that around that area so that it's nice and secure. Okay. All right, so this is nice and secure now. That hole's not going to go anywhere. The hole's not going to change. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just twist this pot just a little bit. I'm going to pull this out. And now I have got a perfect mold in the ground where this root system is going to fit right down in there really, really tight. And I'm not messing with the roots as much. Now, if it's pot bound, you may have to relieve some of those roots and things. You definitely don't want to put one that's pot bound into a hole like this without, freeing up some of the roots, because you don't want those roots girdling the tree or growing around the trunk system. And then as they expand, they'll begin choking out the tree. So what I want to do now is I want to go ahead and work this pot off. So you guys can see here, we have got a beautiful root system. Let me get up here where you guys can see really well. We have got a great root system on this. It's not root bound. It's doing just great. They've just hit the bottom and lots of root growth there. So that is good. So I want to remember the direction that I had this when I decided I wanted to plant it. And then I'm going to go right back into that hole. You guys see it fits like a glove. I mean, it just pops right back down into there, really firm. And so what I'll do now is I'll take this and I'll start feathering this out around this area. And so what we've done now is this tree is actually planted on a little bit of a hill, just a little bit of a rise here. And that's going to allow water to shed off to the sides where the root zone is going to need it. You don't want water, you really don't want the highest to be here and the lowest point to be here at the trunk, because all the water will come down to the trunk, sit on the trunk, and it'll rot that trunk out. So you want this to be on a little bit of a rise, and we've got what looks like comes down a little bit and then a little bit of a hill here, and it's sitting on just a little bit of a hill. And as I said, you know, this, as the soil breaks down, it is going to begin sinking here in this area. So, but I'm going to go ahead and smooth this area out just a little bit. We'll make sure it's nice and secure in this hole. And I'll go ahead and, since we've got 2 trees to plant, I'm going to go ahead and plant that one in the same way, and show you guys that one as well. Give you a second round of it so you can see the process. Okay, so I've got you positioned again. Now, again, this hole's already been pre-dug out. I'm just going to go ahead and spread some of this out just a little bit so we can get our other good soil in here as well. And spread this around this area here. And basically it's just raising up the edges around here to hold water. So it'll hold water in this area around this root zone until we get some good growth out of the roots to grow out into that, you know, the surrounding areas. All right. Okay, so now again we need to look at our positioning. I need to figure out what position I want this in to be permanently. Now, it will grow new limbs, it'll grow new branches, it may totally change the structure later. But I want to go ahead and give it a start and try to manage it in the direction that I want it to go. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and I'm just going to turn it this way just a little bit. That way it is more of a fan, just like the other one, because we do have a little bit of a split here. And so now what I want to do is I want to get this tree planted balanced, like I said earlier. And it looks like we're going to have to lean it just a little bit like the other one. So we're going to lean it that direction just a little. Oh, too much. And there we go. And we're good side to side. So, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and add some of our soil. Around the edge. All right, so I'm going to mix this new stuff in with some of the old stuff, and we'll go ahead and push that right back into our hole. Since we've got it where we want it, go ahead and firm this up. Now, if you didn't have your holes pre-prepped and you had to dig these holes out, guys, keep in mind that when you originally dig your holes, you want them to be at least twice as wide as the pot. So you're going to take half and half. You're going to dig this hole this wide, guys. And then your depth of the pot is going to be about twice as deep as the pot. So you guys saw the depth of that pot. We're going to go down twice that. So you're looking at, you know, I don't know if you can see my top hand, but basically you're looking at about 2 to 2.5 feet deep, guys, and that gives enough room for the root growth and some fresh soil for that to grow down into. And so you can see here that once I get all this pressed down, that the soil, again, I have this planted about 2 inches high. And so that way this will sink down in, as I said earlier. So now that we've got that all firmed up, we'll go ahead and pull this. We'll pull it out. Now the hole is ready to go, and so now we're gonna work this. I vibrate them just a little bit to get that to let go. Beautiful root system on it, and we're just gonna go right back into that hole. Right there, guys. And so we're gonna press that down into the hole, make sure there's no major air gaps. If you've got air in there, guys, it'll kill those roots. So you want to make sure that you push it out. Now we are going to come back and I'm going to water all of these. You want to water them really well. That way it allows all that air to escape, come up to the surface, and seats these down really, really well into the ground. And so again, I'm gonna feather the edges of this, and we're gonna pull some of this soil so that we are on just, we see that little bit of a mound here that we're planted on top of. And that'll do it, guys. So now that I've done this, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to pull some of these leaves and things like I did on the other one. I'm going to pull these leaves and things right back in over on top so that our mulch covers our surface. Like I said, if the soil is left exposed, guys, it is in the process of dying. And you really do not want your soil to die. Once it's dead, it takes quite a bit to get it back to life. And one of the big problems of the death of your soil is that a lot of times in hot areas where it can become dry and hot, like it can here in the summertime, basically that soil will become hydrophobic, and you'll begin watering and it will repel water. It will not soak the water in, which means the soil is not breaking down because it doesn't have enough moisture content to be able to continue the breakdown process. And so you guys can see I've got leaves, I've got all sorts of stuff. I'm just covering this soil. I want this soil to remain alive, and I want to keep it nice and covered. Again, guys, the importance of wood chips and mulch. If you don't have mulch in your garden, guys, you're struggling. The way nature works is it drops all of the leaves, all the branches, all the fruit, and everything throughout the year onto the forest floor. And nobody cleans that up. Nobody moves that out of the way. And over the course of that year, all those leaves and those branches break down and turn into black, fertile soil. And so that's what you want here. The leaves and the wood chips and mulch and things are key to that happening. So that's it, guys. Both of these have been planted. Both of them are good to go. Now, I have not covered the other one yet. Let me get over here where you guys can see me. So I have not covered the other one yet with mulch. You guys can see that one's still open right there. I'm gonna go ahead and cover that with mulch, and then I'm gonna go ahead and water these things in. All right, guys, so I'm back over to the butterfly bush. I just wanna water this in really well, guys. I want to go ahead and wet down the whole area. Now you can see I'm putting it on a spray. I really don't wanna move my dirt around. I've situated it the way I want it, but I wanna soak this whole area. And I wanna make sure that the whole area is saturated, but not just on the surface. I want this water to sink down to a point where the water penetrates all the way to the bottom of the original hole that I dug. And so sometimes that can take some time, guys. I have seen so many people come out to water their trees and their plants, and they will run a hose like this, and they may run this hose for about 5 minutes, they shut it off, and then they walk away. And what they don't realize is that, you know, soil does not, the water does not penetrate that deep that fast. And so, you know, minimal, I will water something. You know, once this video's over, I'm probably going to set this hose down on here and let it go ahead and drip and run on these plants for probably a good 15-20 minutes. And I mean slow, guys. I don't mean like, you know, crazy running. It'll be down like this. But I'll let that sit there and run on that plant. You know, this area right here, once I've fully saturated the area, I will let this run like this for a good 15-20 minutes. And so, you know, you don't want to necessarily flood the entire area, but you definitely want to fill up that area with water to push all of those air bubbles back up to the surface so you don't have any roots that are stuck in an air bubble type area. Because those roots will not survive if they've got air exposed to them. So I basically want to water this one like this. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with the trees, and we'll get those watered and I'll be right back. All right, guys, so I just wanted to show you guys real quick. I have watered this area until I'm to the point that water is standing here in this center area. Now this water is going to sink down. It's not going to stay here. I've got great drainage from all of the wood chips and the mulch and stuff that I've got in this area, but that's to the extent that I watered that plant. So now we're going to come over here and, excuse me, sorry if I made you dizzy there, and we're going to start watering our trees now. So we want to make sure that our trees get nice and saturated as well. We want to saturate this whole area, make sure that we are well watered in. And I say well watered in, we're actually on well 2, so it means 2 different things. So, and we're going to do the same process here, guys. I'm just going to sit here, I'm going to water this entire area around it. You guys can see everywhere the water's hitting. This is all of the root zone in this area. I want all of this to be nice and saturated. And again, I'm going to water this until I've got water standing here in this location. Now, if you're in a place where you've got a lot of clay, where the water's not going to seep in very fast, it may be different for you. You may have to run that water on a drip speed so that it permeates into that clay and does not pull up and run away from the actual plant. But here I've got great drainage. I have prepped these holes way in advance, so a lot of microbes, a lot of insects, a lot of different things are down in the soil, have created some great drainage in these areas. So it's not an issue for me in this soil. But I'm gonna go ahead and do both of the trees like this. I'm gonna get them nice and saturated, and I'll be right back. All right, guys, I have got all the plants completely watered in. They are fully saturated. They are ready to go for growth. And so now the only thing that you're gonna wanna look at is, let me show you, is the stakes that are on them. So when you buy a new tree, it usually comes with a bamboo or some sort of a stake on it for support. And you can see that these are all attached by these ties. So a stake is good for a new tree, and the reason being is because there's not a lot of root structure to hold that tree into the ground. And so if you get a lot of wind, that wind is going to basically blow that tree side to side in the top portion up here, and it will loosen up that root system and could possibly break some of the roots and allow it to not really get established here quickly. And so that's why they put these stakes in here. Now, ideally, if you're in a high wind situation and you've got this tree on here, you're actually going to want to put a stake about out here, about a foot away from it, and then another stake over here a foot away from it, and then run a tie to that so that the tree can support itself, but it will keep it from moving side to side. Now here we get enough fast growth that I'm going to go ahead and leave these stakes on here for now. And I will go ahead and remove these ties as soon as we hit spring and this tree starts growing. If I don't remove these ties, this tree will begin swelling so fast that it will begin to choke out on this tie, and you'll be able to see the swell on both ends of this tie right here. So as soon as we hit spring, I'm going to go ahead and remove these ties from it. I do like to use, if you guys have ever gone and had blood drawn, or you've, you know, the medical wrap that they use to hold the little cotton swab on there afterwards. Guys, I like to use that because it expands and it contracts, and I will go ahead and wrap them with that around these stakes, and it allows growth and doesn't choke them out. But I will go ahead and leave these ties on here until spring. When spring comes, I'll remove them, and these trees will take off. They're basically going to get established fairly quickly. But both of them are good to go, and that's it, guys. So hopefully I showed you guys something you guys didn't know. Some of you have probably done this a million times, maybe not a million, but at least hundreds of times. Some of you avid gardeners, but there are plenty of people out there that really want to plant a tree, and you know, don't have the money or don't want or know anybody that can plant those trees for them. And so I want to, you know, make sure that everybody knows how to do this, guys. We need to know how to grow our own food. We need to know how to plant trees. We need to know how to plant a garden. And there's too many people, you know, we grow up in a school system that really doesn't teach us that. You know, unless you've got just amazing ag teacher, or you've got something like that, but you know, even I grew up in a school that did not have that. We didn't have access to that kind of thing. And so all through school, all through high school, I don't remember anybody teaching me how to plant things, you know, other than your your beans in a paper towel and get it to sprout, and then they'd basically die in the classroom window. But you know, other than that, we didn't really get a lot of knowledge on how to grow food or how to be sustainable. And so hopefully this helps some of you guys through the process of how to plant a tree. You can do the same process that I just showed you with fruit trees, bare root trees, you know, flowers, plants, anything that you do buy from the store. But I just want to empower you guys to, if you're wanting to plant some things, get out there and try it, guys. If you've never done it before, you're never going to know how. And so give it a shot, guys. You know, just follow, you know, what I've done here in this video will work. It will absolutely work. This is the best method that I have found to make sure that your plants get established well and do really, really, really well. So one more thing before I go, guys, I want to show you guys our Japanese quince that we planted. Last year didn't bloom a whole lot and wasn't doing a whole lot, but this year it is getting a head start. It is a little early, but it is jumping on it, but you guys can see all the little blooms. But I love these blooms that are on this Japanese quince. They are bright, almost neon, but just absolutely beautiful. And it is absolutely covering itself in these little buds. And I imagine by springtime, this tree is probably going to go ahead and glow for us. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy the video or it helped you at all, guys, please give me a like on the video. I appreciate you watching Markham Gardens. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, guys, hit the subscribe button. If you don't like us after a few videos, you can unsubscribe. It's not difficult. But if you will subscribe to the channel, guys, I know that you know somebody out there that needs this information. Somebody needs to know how to plant things. Guys, if you'll hit that share button, share it through email, share it on social media, share it through Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is, the links to it. But get this word out there, guys. That way we empower more people around us to be able to grow their own food, be more self-sufficient, and you know, stop having to rely on our food system so much that, you know, consistently have shown us that they fail. So anyway, glad you guys could follow along today. Love you guys. I'll see you in the next one. Shalom under the dome.